Now that you've spent some time playing over real music, we're going to add one tiny extra little ingredient that's going to add some extra magic to your playing. And it's a really, really simple technique called vibrato, but we're going to do it in what we call a classical way or a classical style. If you've ever seen maybe a violin player or a cello player, they will wiggle their fingers back and forth every now and then to get a kind of a wavy sound to their playing. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. It's a really, really easy vibrato technique that's going to, like I said, add just a little bit of extra magic to your playing, and it's going to turn some heads. So let's check out how to do this. First of all, I'm just going to use my 5-note box just as an example, just because there's less notes. So here's the 5-note box. And what we want to do is, if you know how we've already played combinations of notes, we've played little phrases. In other words, let's say we play a few notes and we land on our last note to end our phrase. Okay? What we're going to do is add a little bit of extra vibrato, which is going to add a little bit of extra waviness to the playing, and it's actually going to make your guitar playing, it's going to make the notes sound a little bit more like a human voice. So it gives it a little bit of extra, like I said, magic, a little bit of extra spice, right? So if I was going to play a little phrase, just that, just those 2 notes, instead of having the notes sound kind of what we call flat, like that, all I'm going to do is do this. Can you hear that waviness sound? At the end of any phrase that you play, you can add this vibrato. So, and if you notice, you can do it with any finger. You can even do it with playing one single note. So let me show you how we're going to do this. It's really, really simple. For any note that you play, let's say this note right here, all you're going to do is anchor your finger on the fretboard in between the frets. I'm not going to actually slide my finger. All I'm going to do is anchor my finger to one spot, and all I'm doing is moving my finger from left to right, almost like I'm just rolling my finger, right? Now, I'm not actually rolling my finger itself. What I'm actually doing is moving my hand up and down while my finger is anchored to the string. I'm going to try to exaggerate it so you can see what I'm saying, but notice how I'm just moving my hand. I'm not rotating my hand, I'm just sliding my hand, but my finger is anchored to the string, so I can't really go anywhere with it. So listen to what happens when I play the note and do this little vibrato sound. You hear that? It gives it a little bit of waviness. And like I said, you can do that with any finger. In fact, I encourage you to practice that along the high E string, because it's the easiest string to get that waviness sound. I encourage you to practice this with every single finger on one fret. For example, just doing this. And then move to the next finger. See if you can go faster and see if you can go slower with the vibrato. So here's a really slow one. And here's a really fast one. See, it's really, really easy. And also try to do it with your pinky. So I want you to spend a little bit of time practicing with each finger, and then also spend a little bit of time changing the speed of the vibrato. But ultimately what we're going to do with this is this. When you're improvising, when you're playing with your little 7-note box or your 5-note box, any phrase that you play, the very last note, in other words, any note that you let ring out, I want you to apply the vibrato. So if you played a phrase like this, apply the vibrato at the end. Or. You see how it adds a little bit of extra spice? It just adds that little extra magic. It makes it sound extra musical. Okay? So in this lesson, I want you to practice your vibrato with each finger, just so you can get used to it. And then we're going to go back to the backing track, the background music, and I want you to practice, again, improvising, but then any note that you land on, that is the end of your phrase, any note that you land on that you let ring out, I want you to apply the vibrato and see how that takes your guitar playing to a whole new musical level.